Greetings, everybody. This is Frank Fry, the Gaming Geezer, and I hope you all had a very, very happy Thanksgiving holiday. I know I did. You may wonder why I'm wearing this sun helmet with the goggles on top. Well, as you could tell from the title of this video, I'm looking at Space 1889. With the newest edition PDF already hitting the stands, already available at DriveThruRPG, thought I'd take a look at what has become one of my all-time favorite role-playing games. Yes, indeed. And away we go. First of all, let me doff my sun helmet here, set it off to the side. Now, I was first exposed to Space 1889 in 1988 when it first came out. And for a kid that read, for a guy that grew up reading science fiction, thank you Classics Comics Illustrated, by the way, for all sorts of wonderful illustrated editions of the H.G. Wells and Jules Verne classics. I guess you could say that my first exposure to VSF, Victorian science fiction, as opposed to steampunk, and we may get into that more later, was through Classics Comics Illustrated when I was a kid growing up in the 1950s. And I've always liked it. It always just seemed kind of a wonderful kerwoosh type of universe full of boys' own adventures and off visiting exotic lands or planets. Yeah. Now, there were some attempts early on, I believe in the early 70s, to do an RPG based on John Carter, Warlords of, the Warlords of Mars. I believe that was Heritage that came out with that, and they had the miniatures game and everything else. The whole idea seemed to be to do, to woo the hand of a Martian princess. Well, you wouldn't want the rest of her, but who knows, Anyway, I vaguely remember playing some of these. I think I had a miniature or two of a, I know I had a miniature of a Martian plant man. It really looked horrifying. If I could belonged more in the Cthulhu mythos, but that's okay. But really, there wasn't that much gaming, and then this hit the scene. From Game Designers Workshop in 1988, we had Space 1889, which was really kind of, I guess, it was a tribute offhandedly or whatever to the TV series Space 1999, which I had mixed feelings about. But there was no doubt in my mind, at least, in terms of story and background, I loved this. This was terrific. We spent any number of hours playing in this. I created my own Martian kingdoms. And wow, this was everything you'd want. Now, the gaming system, not one of their better ones. I really didn't care that much for it. And it also came out for, excuse me, I got started to get sidetracked there. We GURPSified it. In other words, we converted it to GURPS and away we went. But the background was still fabulous. It's one of the best, I think, gaming backgrounds I've ever run across. But then Frank Chadwick is a historical games designer, an award-winning one. His work is tremendous. I have a number of his rule sets that he has written over the years, and I have always found them to be very playable and very enjoyable. Anyway, there was also a game that came out with this, a war game called Sky Galleons of Mars, and I had that too, and I heard it's being reissued, so I'll probably do that. Anyway, there were a number of adventures that came out for this. a number of books. One of them that I always really loved was Conklin's Atlas of the Worlds and Compendium of Useful Information, which I have somewhere around here. I know I have it on PDF. There were others as well. The adventures were pretty decent. They tended to be very much Anglo-centric, or actually British-centric, to tell you the truth. And my campaign was about Americans on Mars. Still, it worked. The background worked. Everything worked. It was an exciting, exciting background. A wonderful world to adventure in. And then, unfortunately, Game Designers Workshop circled the drain, and down it went. No more Space 1889. Now, Heliograph, Heliograph Incorporated, publishers, actually brought out reprints of the books sometime in the 1990s, and this was very, very good. You could, if you didn't have the material, you could get your hands on it. Great help for me anyway. It helped fill in my collection. Aside from Conklin's, the other book that really stands out, and they're all really good, it really stands out to me, is called Cloud Captains of Mars. And this was basically a look at the cloud ships and gunboats, such, to the power of liftwood, which only grew on Mars, I might add. Fabulous. You had these beautiful aerial ships. The old style had sails. The new style, of course, had steam engines, and then you had some more that worked basically off a clockwork mechanism. Pretty cool. I liked it. I liked it a great deal. They also had other books that came out supported the line. This line was exceptionally well supported. Exceptionally well supported. I would recommend Ironclads and Ether Flyers. I would also recommend Cloud Ships and Gunboats. This gives you a lot of stuff you can work with. Okay, well, unfortunately, like I said, it went away. Now, Frank retained the rights to the property. Thank God. And it was kept alive a lot of years through websites, through people just enjoying the background so much. In 2010, the first formal book came out. New adventure, whatever, from Pinnacle Entertainment. Red Sands. This was not a remaking of Space 1889. This is an adventure. Plot point. Now, it does have about everything in there you need to convert your regular old Space 1889 into Savage Worlds, which is not a bad idea. Savage Worlds is a tremendously wonderful game system. It's one of my all-time favorites. Okay. But now, something else. German publishing house. Excuse me. While I figure out what the okay. Anyway, German publishing house, whose name escapes me embarrassingly right now. Well, what the hell? Give me a break. I'm 66 years old. I'm still stoned off of all the turkey yesterday. There were rumors abounding that they were redoing Space 1889. They had actually gotten a license and they were redoing it in German. There would be a German language edition. It was also going to use, they're supposed to use, the Ubiquity role-playing game system, the same one that powers the very excellent Hollow Earth Expedition series, powers the very wonderful Leagues of Adventure from Triple Ace Games. It's a really great steampunk. It to me is a little more steampunk than VSF, and it's a great deal of fun too. Go check it out. Paul Wade Williams, known affectionately to everybody as Wiggy, did an excellent job with it. I have a copy of it. It has a lot of good stuff in there, and it's supported by a series of PDFs. Triple Ace Games also use the Ubiquity system to power All for One, Regime Diabolique, Three Musketeers role-playing game, actually. And did a very good job of it there, too. Also, from the incredibly talented pen of Wiggy. Yeah. One of the highlights of going to Gen Con for about 4 years straight was linking up with Wiggy and shooting the bulls. He's a great guy, an immensely talented man. Buy his books because they're good. Anyway, if you really want a good look at Ubiquity, go to RuneSlinger. Go to RuneSlinger's YouTube channel, and he does a very good look at how the Ubiquity system works, probably much better and no doubt more articulate than mine, than what I could do with it. Anyway, they brought out, the German publisher did, it was something or other Verlog. I'll probably remember it when this video is over. And it was very well received in Germany. And of course, the inevitable question arose, when's the English language translation coming out? Question answered. It's available now in PDF. The new Space 1889. Reworked, reimagined a little bit. They changed the background, and it used the Ubiquity system. In the immortal words of my great-grandma, hot siggity damn! It's here. Well, what do you get for your time and your effort? Now, I'm a Kickstarter backer, so I got the PDFs early. I got the final version on PDF. The hardback should be coming sometime this year or early next. And it's going to make a wonderful addition to my collection. And it's basically a dream come true. Okay, what do you get? Well, to start off with, and I'm one of these old guys who's going to go straight to the book, you get a wonderful, you get a 5-page intro to the world of Space 1889. That gives you a good outlook, an overview, if you will. Then that's followed by a 7-page section, Storytelling in Victorian Space. Now, this is almost worth the price of admission itself. This section, Storytelling in Victorian Space. It gives you essays, Victorian science fiction, very good ones too, to get you into the genre. Victorian science fiction, the Space 1889. Here's some of the subheadings: Victorian adventure novel, classic adventure novel, in Space 18. In short, it gives you a look at the different literary styles of that age, the Victorian age, including my favorite, the Ruritanian romance. Sorry about this. I'm just still not all this good at continually, as I'm trying to process thoughts through my brain. But it gives you an excellent background in how these different styles of literature would work. Now, the one thing that I have noticed in this so far is some people said, oh, it's a steampunk RP. Well, it's not really. This will really give you a much better look at what this is. It's got steampunk elements in it, but this, the original Space 1889, basically is the granddaddy of all steampunk games. They were there first in 1988, I think, before steampunk virtually even existed. And just to make everything clear, I love steampunk, as you could tell by my pith helmet. And I am a member of the Tampa Bay Steampunk Society, a member of the Central Florida Steampunk Association, and my favorite, the Royal Ruritanian Society. Thank you very much. But this is a trip down memory lane that I just can't get enough of. Now, they have changed the background a bit. They've rewritten it. The backgrounding materials are, you get a lot more of what's going on Venus and on Mercury. There's a little more emphasis on the Germans. Why not? It was written by Germans, or rewritten actually. And some of the other things. There's two things especially that stick out. One, the first one that has already caused perhaps a bit of controversy in some circles. In this version of Space 1889, let me backtrack. In the original version of Space 1889, everything happened exactly as it did in human history up until 1870. And this one, it's a bit different. The biggest one, and again the most controversial one in certain circles, is the South won the Civil War. Yeah, I know we've seen all of these sort of Confederate good old boy fantasies before. Most of them are pretty jack-legged, ridiculous. This one isn't. Frank Chadwick, who actually designed and had input on this, did this possibly the only way it could have been done. Abraham Lincoln dies of typhus in 1862, visiting the peninsula. There was actually an outbreak of, I believe, typhus or cholera. He avoided it in our world. In this one, he didn't. He dies. The Union High Command is thrown into a chaos of squabbling politicians. Hannibal Hamlin is just doesn't have it. Without Lincoln's iron-willed genius, the South eventually gains its independence and keeps its slaves and all the other bad news. So that by 1889, you have a divided America. But the interesting thing is, the North, the Union, the USA, as they call it, the USA, is a rising industrial powerhouse. The South, the CSA, is a decaying, backwards dictatorship. It's an oligarchy that is failing rapidly. The white Southern planters, i.e. the slave owners, dominate everything. And they keep things just the way they were, despite the fact that the Confederacy is slipping into absolute economic ruin rapidly. So this creates a number of interesting ideas and concepts. There are slave raids. Believe it or not, the South still indulges in that. They say they're going after escaped slaves, but they're not. They're trying to grab every free black person they can get their hands on, keep their institution of slavery going. But you also have Union troops who raid into the South to free the slaves, liberation raids. You have a Southern middle class that's technologically adept, that's really chafing under the strain of the planter oligarchy. It's a very fascinating situation. And out west, oh my God, it's an absolute, it's a chaotic situation. It is filled with gaming possibilities, so much so that hell, you don't even have to go to Mars. You give yourself a riotously good campaign right here on Earth, or at least some knockdown, drag 'em out adventures. The one of the ripples of this is that the Confederacy is not recognized by anybody. Its only real ally per se is the Mexican Empire and Brazil. Oh yes, without the threat of the Union, yeah, Maximilian's faction, the Imperial faction, holds on. It is now Mexican Empire. Maximilian, I believe, was assassinated. Now they got somebody else up there, and they are also slave owners. Ask the Yaqui Indians. They did quite a job on. So there's all sorts of, and oh, by the way, in Brazil, which is kind of odd, but we'll get to that. Anyway, quite a lot of adventure can be had just on this background alone. Just on this background here. And excuse me for a minute, throat's a bit dry. It's well worth it. Now, of course, if you don't want it, say, God, I don't want the South to have won the Civil War. I don't like that idea. Don't use it. Just have things go just as they did. That's the great part about it. Years and years ago, I was told by Lauren Wiseman of Game Designers Workshop, once they buy the game, it's theirs. They can change it any way they want. And that's what I firmly believe. Once you buy the game, it's yours. So, the other big ripple is that in 1870-71, Paris Commune won. How about that? There is now the, what is it called? I think it's the Liberal Democratic Republic of France. This is actually a left of center. I mean, oh my God, they have terrible things like almost universal suffrage. Sounds. Letting the lower classes vote. And a number of other things that today would simply be regarded as, liberal centrist. Back in those days, of course, that was left-wing, pie-in-the-sky radicalism, which is really cool. They've done other things too. Like I said, they've expanded the backgrounds on Mercury and on Venus. They have Mars cranked up. All in all, this is an excellent book. I can't wait for the hardcover to come out. And a shout out of big thanks to Angus Abramson. I hope I haven't mangled your name, Angus, at Chronicle City for making this possible. And again, this is into the Ubiquity system, just tremendous. Now, some other things too that you're going to find in there. They have no racial packages for the different alien races. In terms of character genning, a Martian is going to gen up pretty much the same as a human, as a Venusian, whatever. You can add these if you want. Easy enough to do. Perhaps the most interesting and to some aggravating omission is there are no rules in this edition for inventing things. Now, if you want to pick up Secrets of the Surface World for Hollow Earth Expedition, they have everything in there on weird science and how to invent stuff, and it just bolts right on to everything else. There's also not an extensive section on how to build your own aerial flyer. Once again, you just do it yourself. What you're getting here is a basics core rule book, which will allow you to gen up characters and get yourself going. So I highly advise you buy it. It gets my highest recommendation of 5 out of 4 stars. And it's very, very good. And it's available at Drive-Thru RPG in the PDF form. And if I had not backed it on Kickstarter, not only would I buy the PDF, I'd buy the hardback because that's what I tend to do. Your mileage may vary depending upon your wallet. So that pretty much takes care of it. Again, I love seeing this come back. I'm hoping to put together a campaign, an adventure. I've got a wonderful idea for a story arc. So I would like again to wish everybody happy holidays. Hope yours was very good. And enjoy. And remember, have fun, play games. Yeah.